Evening, everyone. My name is Pat Ruiz. I am the first vice chair, Community Board 7. Julio Peña III, our chair, unfortunately, fortunately, he's traveling today. So he may join us virtually. We do not have quorum at this time. So do we have the councilwoman Hanif on virtual? All right. Is her staff member going to be speaking, or will we wait for the council member?
Speak, so the staff would wait until the agenda item. Agenda item 7.
All righty. Do we have Officer Wilson virtually from the 72nd Precinct online?
Tom Gargulio is on? Oh, Tom Gargulio. Oh, Julio is on.
Joining us virtually. All right. So if the councilwoman is available to speak right now, we will give her time. You can unmute yourself. Oh, not yet. You're able to unmute yourself, Councilwoman Aviles.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I was hoping to be there today in person, but alas, my schedule is too insane. So thank you for having me virtually. I hope everyone is doing well. Just want to start off by saying Happy Black History Month and celebrating all of our African-American communities' triumphs and contributions to our beautiful country, and want to extend a happy Lunar New Year to all those who celebrate. And just want to welcome actually our new 72nd Precinct Captain Yassine. So we look forward to working with the captain, and more to come on that front. But I guess I just want to quickly talk a little bit about the news of the day, which is related to obviously sanctuary city policy and much of what we are seeing at the federal level. Obviously, New York City is very much under attack by this new federal government, who is trying very hard, actually have sued us, the state, around our sanctuary city policies. And it's just important for everyone to know that, sanctuary city policies were created for safety. They're public safety instruments. They were created because immigrants were no longer safe, actually, to go to public agencies to help if they were either victims of a crime or had witnessed a crime. Immigrants who were cut off from other public institutions. And the city realized that what was important for public safety and for all of us is that we needed to maintain relationships with immigrant New Yorkers, right? Our newcomers, whether you've been here for 5 minutes or 30 years, that those relationships were of critical importance. And so sanctuary policies in our city have evolved over 30 years of time. And they are policies that we're really proud of. And it's important to say before the board, because I'm sure you've heard much of this in different media pieces, that our myself and my city council colleagues are committed to protecting those laws and making sure that our city agencies are following those laws. And what those laws essentially say, it's a collection of laws that New York City resources will be used for the purposes of New York City work, not for immigration enforcement at the federal level. That is the federal level's job to do. They can do that without using our resources. And for those of you who may have heard various mythologies being perpetrated, unfortunately, by our own mayor, the truth of the matter is that if there are crimes that have been committed, there is an exception for serious and violent crimes of 177 actual different crimes that allows for information sharing. So in fact, what you're hearing from our mayor is not only untrue, but we see that he's decided to trade our immigrant communities to advance the Trump agenda to make sure he secures himself from criminal prosecution. And so I just want the board to know that at the city council, we are deeply committed to supporting our laws and making sure that our city agencies follow our laws and supporting communities. And there are many, many Know Your Rights trainings going on. If we have handed out hundreds of packets around emergency planning for families. And many of our community members remember much of the trauma from the first Trump administration. And so if anyone has any questions or would like further information, you should feel free to reach out to our office. We can send digital packets. We have them hardcover, and also happy to, there are many, many Know Your Rights trainings going on in various languages throughout the district. I invite you to all of those things. And then just a quick segue from that, on the legislative front, just want to highlight two really great initiatives that we were just able to kind of unveil is our New York City Interpreter Bank. And here, right, we're able to expand language access for legal services, for community navigation, and for some city council offices. Many of you know that language accessibility is a real challenge for a city. It has always been the case. As a city as multilingual as New York is, it has been a persistent challenge. But this language interpreter bank has been an initiative that several organizations have been working on for a very long time. So we're just really excited to be able to launch that. It will not only provide work for people from communities who are able to speak in multiple languages, but also be able to actually expand services so that community members can really access all the amazing things that we have to offer. And also want to note that New York City Council unveiled a new initiative allocating an additional $2 million to protect New York City immigrant families. Now, this is a drop in the bucket compared to the needs that many of our New York City immigrants, which comprise up almost 40% of our New York City population, needs, but it is certainly a step in the right direction in an environment where we are seeing the federal government claw back funding from all kinds of programs and firing, federal workers writ large without an understanding of what they are doing to those of us who depend on those services across the country. So these are challenging times for sure, but I want you to know that we are working hard to continue at the local level to not only promote and advance, a budget that reflects the things that we need, the services and the things that we need, right? A people's budget. And I think my colleague, Councilmember Hanif, will talk a little bit more about probably crisis to care campaign, but rest assured, as we move into budget hearings the month of March, I'm going to send the board the list of all the different committees, and I encourage you all to please come. Make your voices heard around the things that are important to you and why we need to continue to advance budget justice and get access to the resources that we need. Because budgeting is a reflection of our interests and policy priorities, and that should be our communities first and foremost. So with that, I will yield my time. There is a ton more to talk about, but I know we don't have all night. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Do you have a couple of seconds for some questions if there's anyone in the audience that would like to ask a question?
Sure, absolutely.
Anyone virtual? All righty, thank you, Councilmember. I would like at this time to introduce Councilmember Shahana Hanif.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Also, sad that I can't be there in person. We'll try to make the next one. I'm going to speak today about where we've arrived with the Arrow Linen Project, and we'll save some of our other work around legislation, crisis to care with the Progressive Caucus, and some of our other projects at a later conversation. So last week, the application passed the subcommittee and committee on land use at the council. It's slated to be voted on by the full body next Thursday, February 27th, during what we call our stated meeting. We wouldn't have arrived to the conditions that I'm going to describe without all of the testimonies, and that includes hearing from Housing Not High Rises. It includes Community Board 7's input, and the entire Windsor Terrace community and neighboring communities as well. So just want to thank you for your advocacy, and the project is stronger because of that engagement. So I kept the feedback around the neighborhood impact and the concerns of height and affordability as the two top priorities for how I negotiated. The height of the new building is going to be kept at 10 stories, down from 13. But the zoning R7A allows for 11, and I'll get to how we'll ensure that it's at 10 stories. The project will have 100 affordable units of a total of 250. This brings up the affordability from 25% to 40% of the affordable units. And this agreement, this 40% agreement, is unprecedented in the city council. It's historic, given that council members try, and their negotiation always includes like, how can we make more units affordable? And so this is really unprecedented territory for the council this year. And also, this project doesn't have any public subsidies. The non-Arrow-Lynn buildings in the rezoning are going to be rezoned at R6B. And if there were to be any changes, the mandatory inclusionary housing program would be in effect, meaning they would have to include a portion of the units as affordable units that would stay affordable in perpetuity. And it brings them to zoning compliance without enabling higher density. It reduces the risk of speculation and development. The agreement also includes commitments to a subsidized community facility space on the ground floor for an anti-domestic violence organization that has worked closely in my district particularly, and they've been looking for a space, and this coordination and collaboration, I think, is a really strong one. They're called Sakhi for South Asian Survivors, and then a community facility space for a daycare or childcare provider. And then there's going to be, when things kick off, a construction task force composed of my office or whoever is in office at the time, because these projects usually take years to start and to complete. And the community board and Housing Not High Rise is very stakeholders to make sure that we are at the table. And that's going to be the goal. In a separate agreement, 32BJ has also received a commitment to quality jobs for the future employees on the site.
Thank
And
you.
I'm happy to take questions.
Board members only. Is there any board member here present that'd like to ask a question? Sam? Bless you.
Hi, and thank you for the presentation. My question is related to the jobs available. Can you share with us how many jobs we will wind up with at the end of the project, and whether or not they will be full-time or part-time jobs? Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. No, I appreciate that. We can get back to you. And if one of the leaders, executive board members can send me the email address of this board member, I'd really appreciate it.
Katie?
Councilmember, the question I have for you is at the last board meeting, so that would have been last month, that's January, when you talked about, I think it was January, when you talked about Arrow Linen, you said that, I'm not going to quote you exactly, but like, because this board didn't take a position on Arrow Linen, we had a no, it was a no vote.
Yeah,
That's a position that actually made it harder for
right.
negotiations, and that struck me. I was kind of struck by that, and I think it's this board, takes votes and does, goes about our procedures, and it's really important to hear from your perspective why you thought that no vote was a problem, and again, just again from your perspective on this particular project with where it is now.
Right. And I mean, it could have been yeah, I'm thinking about the circumstance where this would have, like the outcome would be different. But I prioritize building housing, and that is what I talk about. It's the kind of tenant protection work that I relate with. It's one of my priorities. And as a council member, I want to have discretion given so many families are leaving our city. Childcare costs, rents, we all know this. And so having affordable housing and especially housing built with a daycare center or like community facility spaces that are really oriented towards families is a priority of mine. What the no vote does, truthfully, is it squashes any opportunity to be able to negotiate in good faith. I mean, if the board had returned and said like, hey, like we really want to like come to the compromise, because truthfully, this is a compromise. I'm not going to get exactly what I want. The developers are not going to get exactly what they want, and our advocates and community residents are not going to get exactly what they want. And so the whole negotiation table really requires understanding that that's what's happening. And we fight until the very, very end. We came to the final details of the proposal, like on the day of the vote. We had to delay the vote as well as a result of it. And it could, and then I think, I don't remember what the conditions were. It was like no with conditions. I think the first one was like for the developer to like scrap their project.
Thank you. Is there any other board member present in this room? Karen?
Of the 100 units, are these all going to be studios, or will any of them be suitable for families?
Yeah, but they're mostly going to be 2 and 3 bedrooms, and an average area median income of 60%. So there'll be several at 30% and 40%. Having larger unit size was one of the priorities, because we have seen far too many of these developments that that are being built only catering to a one individual and a transient individual. And the hope for this project is that the neighborhood that Windsor Terrace is and what it has offered so many of us will continue to do that for years to come. And these new families would be the recipients of that. So 2 and 3 bedrooms were a huge priority, and 55% specifically will be 2 to 3 bedrooms.
Damian?
Hi, council member. Thank you so much for taking this opportunity to speak to us. I guess a question, I don't know if it was brought up, but how many exactly 30% AMI units are a part of the building and how many are 40%? How many are 50 and 60 and so on?
I don't have those details. I mean, we don't have a detailed drawing of the proposal. But once the construction task force starts, I mean, you're gonna be at the table, like we will continue to use our leverage.
Thank you. And I guess the second question is, do you know how big these apartments per apartment is? Because usually,
Well,
you know,
their measurements were like around 1,300 square feet, which was bigger than all of the proposals that I had seen. But I can share more specifically the square footage. But because the square footage was larger, we were ending up with a taller building with the amount that they wanted. So that's what I know about this project. The units are larger than your usual square footage of 850 or low or less.
thank you.
And Sam again. Oh, Barbara Lee, your hand is up.
I actually lowered my hand because the question was already answered for me. Thank you.
All righty.
Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen, thank you so much, Councilwoman. If there is anything else, please let us know, and we will certainly get any information to you that you may need. Thank you.
I appreciate it. And look out for some information about next week's vote and some activities that we will have planned to celebrate. Take
Great.
care.
Thank you. You too. Ladies and gentlemen, we have quorum.
We don't know if we have quorum. We
Ah.
have to call roll. We think we have quorum,
We think.
but it's not the first item on the agenda.
All right. So we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please stand. Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Jeremy will now do roll call.
Good evening, everybody. When I call your name, please acknowledge. If you were joining us on Zoom, please remember to unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. Let's start with Diana Aguilar. Thank you. Grisel Amador. Thank you. Damian Andrade. Thank you. Jalea Bailey. Joan Body. Thank you. Gladys Bruno. Thank you. Jerry Chan. Thank you. Esteban Chavez. Thank you. Richard Codor. Thank you. John DeLuper. Thank you. Beatrice DeSapio. Gabino Morales Escamilla.
Present.
Thank you. Gabino, you do not count towards quorum. Cynthia Felix.
Present.
Thank you. Jamie Freed. Kin Fung. Thank you. Diana Gonzalez. Thank you. Hector Gonzalez. I saw Hector before. He must have dropped off. Kenny Guan. Moshe Hecht. Nicole Huang.
Here. I'm
Thank
here.
you. Who was that?
Hector.
Thank you, Hector. Hector, you do not count towards quorum. Nicole Huang, you do not count towards quorum. Nicholas Jackson. Thank you. Dan Kaminsky. Thank you. Jeremy Kaplan.
Here.
Thank you. Jeremy, you do not count towards quorum. Aaron Keith. Thank you. Wyco. Thank you. Barbara Lee.
Present.
Thank you. Barbara, you do not count towards quorum. Christina Lem. Thank you. Angie Lau. Paul Mack. Antoinette Martinez. Jonathan Martinez. Thank you. Marilyn Melman.
Do you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, okay, present.
thank you. Marilyn, you did not count towards quorum. Rosie Mota, Julio Pena III,
Present.
thank you. Julio, you did not count towards quorum. Karen Rolnick, thank you. Joanna Romero, Patricia Ruiz,
Here.
thank you. Damaris Santiago, thank you. Sam Sierra, thank you. Kalina Sorma, thank you. Faye Walker, thank you. Catherine Walsh, thank you. Cesar Zuniga, thank you.
Mm.
26 in the room, you have a quorum.
All righty. Moving on. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda for this evening? Damian, followed by Sam. Thank you. Can I get an adoption for the motion to accept the minutes of January 15th? Karen, seconded by Gladys. If there's anyone that would like to make public comment on anything on the agenda, oh, excuse me. Haven't done this in a long time, so bear with me. So I now have to get,
You've had both of them.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Agenda accepted. All opposed? There being none, we will accept the agenda for this evening and the minutes. Thank you. Now we're moving on to public comment for anything that's currently on the agenda at this time. Is there anyone here that'd like to make public comment? Anyone virtually? No hands, wonderful. Moving right along. Yeah. Do we have?
So I have a list.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Okay, Anthony, is the gentleman from the precinct still online? I don't know.
Don't know anybody
Is-
who's the precinct.
Is Officer Wilson from the 72nd Precinct on virtually? Moving right along. Anthony Gay from Senator Myri's office?
Anthony, you can unmute yourself. Anthony, I see you're unmuted. We can't hear you.
Hmm.
Anthony, can you try muting yourself and unmuting yourself again?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Gay, Director of Community Affairs for Senator Zelnor Myrie. Sorry he couldn't be here today. And sorry I couldn't be there in person, but you'll definitely see me next month. I just wanted to come in real quick and let everyone know that we are having a housing fair this Saturday at the Brooklyn Public Library Central Branch. And it is for homeowners and tenants. We have about 15 to 20 vendors, organizations, and agencies that's going to come out, speak to homeowners and tenants, and provide different resources and such. So that will be this Saturday from 11 a.m. To 4 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we, board members have any questions for Anthony? Online? Moving along. Mia Perez from Councilmember Hanif's office. Mia has left the room. All righty. Francesca Lando, representing Assemblymember Gunardis.
Francesca, you can unmute yourself.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Happy February. It is officially cold and flu season, and that is why I am not with you tonight. But I hope everybody is staying well and staying healthy. Um, the most important update I think that or two updates that I think I'll share tonight are we are hosting Oath at our office. Our district office is on Carroll Street between 3rd and 4th Avenue, so right near the Union Street R stop. And the Oath staff will be at our district office to help answer questions about summonses, the hearing process, check on the status of the summons, and basically just give you any information that you may need. If you need to talk to Oath, come and stop by. They'll be in on Tuesday, February 25th. So that's this upcoming Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We also, just like many other elected officials, we had a Know Your Rights training a couple weekends back, but we're going to have another one in March at Holy Family St. Thomas Aquinas. I will keep everybody posted and share information as we can, but if you have any questions, please feel free to contact our office. Our general inbox is gonardis@nysenate.gov. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. Feel free to call us Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. And yeah, besides that, just you all remember me talking about the Safe for Kids Act last year that Senator Gonardis was working really hard on. This year, he's expanded it to the Stop Addictive Feeds Exploitation, aka we're calling it the Safe for All Act. And that's basically giving any user the power to turn off those addictive algorithms and reclaim like control over their feeds. So that is coming down the pipe in Albany, as well as expanding TAP credit from 4 to 6 years. What else? Oh, I will say, just in general, if anybody has like any immigration questions, concerns, and worries, we're getting some informational material and I will be dropping it off at CB7 as soon as I have that all printed. But like I said, we're always here. We're always available to folks if they need us. And yeah, if you need me, give me a shout. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for her? Board members, virtual, presence? No, moving along. Myra Molina, representing Congressman Goldman's office.
Ira, you could unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, I'm actually en route to CB7 from another board board meeting, but I'm just gonna be brief. I know that John attended the meeting last month, but for all of you that don't know yet, we moved our district office from Park Slope to Sunset Park, so now we're located in Industry City to be closer to where people who need most of our offices services to be closer and assist more people. It's at 254 36th Street. But walk-ins are welcome, but we also appreciate a call in advance so we can make sure that the appropriate staffer is there to assist. Like Francesca mentioned, our office also held a human rights town hall in the end of January. The Congressmember is very supportive of the immigrant community, and our office is there to assist regarding any federal agency issues with USCIS or any other concern. In regards to the executive orders that the Trump administration and Trump has recently passed, the Congressmember also held a town hall about 2 weeks ago, I believe, to talk more about these executive orders. He does plan to do more town halls in the future just to talk about what's going on. We are also receiving a lot of phone calls regarding concerns going on with all of these orders, so feel free to call our office. We're always happy to answer and talk with anyone regarding all concerns. For all of you that are not subscribed to the newsletter, most of our information does go out through there. So if you haven't subscribed, I would suggest for you to do so. I'll be there at the CB7 shortly, so I do have board reports with me. But thank you. That's it for now.
Thank you, Myra. Do you have a second if anyone has any questions?
Yeah, sure.
In the room? Christine?
I don't know if this is, if you would know the answer, but I'm just curious about the $80 million that came out of New York City's budget. And I wonder what the status is. If I know the comptroller was planning on suing to get it back. I don't know if your office knows the status, but if it does, can you share that?
I don't have an answer for you right now, actually. I don't know the status myself. But we're actually, thank you for reminding me, all CBOs that are in the district and that are like awaiting funds from federal funds, we are asking them to reach out to our office so we can have all of this information. I know that the Attorney General is planning to sue again, possibly with the Trump administration. So we just want to have this information available. I don't have the answer in regards to the $80 million dollars, but I can get back to you on that in a few weeks. And if anything, I'll be there at the board shortly so we can talk more.
Katie?
Sorry, can I sit? My question specifically about, was it on Friday or Monday that the 4 deputy mayors for the city of New York announced their resignation following the suit pending, against our current mayor? I mean, I don't need to repeat what's in the news because everyone I think here knows what's going on. Has Dan Goldman taken a position on whether or not Eric Adams should resign?
No, he has not taken a position.
Because there's been a lot of other congressional representatives who have been very vocal, as well as city council members and state senators. So I just wanted to understand what Goldman's position was.
Well, I understand that he did mention recently regarding the DOJ charges being dropped against him, and he hasn't said so explicitly, but I can get back to you on that. We are also getting a lot of phone calls at the office in regards to this question, but I'll get back to you on that. And I am in contact with you, so I'll do that as soon as I can.
Thank you, Myra. Moving right along, Sean from Assemblymember Carroll's office, please come on up.
I'm going to give Sean a chance in a moment, but what I want to tell folks is if you're addressing people who are on Zoom, if you're looking there, they can't see you, look at the camera.
Hello, I'm Sean Girl. I'm the new community liaison for Assemblyman Robert Carroll's office. I want to briefly introduce myself. This is my first meeting at Community Board 7, but I live in Community Board 7, so I'm happy to be here. Just two things. Assemblyman Carroll is the new chair of libraries for the State Assembly, which means he's even more committed to getting more funding for Brooklyn Public Library and libraries across the state. Recently, we got $50,000 for the Brooklyn Public Library, and we'll do more. And the second thing is on Thursday, March 6th, we're hosting the Department of Finance for a 10 to 1 p.m. question and answer for everything from real estate taxes to rent freezes for seniors, other benefits. So you could call our office to make an appointment. You could talk to me after the meeting, and you could get some flyers outside. Thanks for having me.
Don't run away so quickly. Do we have any questions for Sean? Oh, you're off the hook. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Emmett Mendoza? Actually, before Emmett, my apologies, I skipped someone. Bruno from the Borough President's Office? Come right on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bruno Daniel, Director of Community Affairs for Borough President Reynoso. Just filling in for Alicia, who is just out today. So just a few things on our end. Community board applications closed on, the window to apply closed on Friday. So thank you all for everyone submitting their applications, all the outreach you might have done on that. I know several of our staffers come by a couple times, letting people know. We've got a lot of feedback this year. We got a lot of applications. So something worked well, and really want to appreciate the work the community boards did on that. Capital applications are open until tomorrow. So there's still a little time to send it in. Most recently, a recipient was Mixteca, who got some money from our office and a couple other offices to do a building acquisition, kind of a long-term thing, but certainly something that can happen. It's part of the borough president's plan to support community organizing infrastructure, and one of the biggest challenges to community organizing infrastructure is having a physical space that you own and not getting pushed out. I know this community knows challenges on that, so just want to reinforce that a little bit. We are having a free tax prep service here at the Borough President's office. It's going to be Mondays and Wednesdays at Borough Hall until April 9. The only requirements are that someone makes income of less than 65K or less than 93K with the dependents that are eligible. You just have to make an appointment online. That information is available on our website. We have a 2025 Borough Culture Grant Program funding application live right now. The New York City Tourism Foundation is accepting applications. Grants help with marketing and promotion of arts and cultural programs and events. An organization has to be 501c3 for that. Please you can send it in by March 3rd at 5 p.m. Information is also up on our website. We have an upcoming set of engagements. So on our website also and on our calendar is a Black History Month event at the end of this month, so February 24th, the Monday coming up. And we're also scheduling another event for Women's History around Shirley Chisholm. That's going to be first week of March. Information on that is also on our website, just escapes me at the moment. But yeah, thank you so much. And any questions?
I actually have a question for you. All the applications are received for reappointment or new members. What are the next steps? When will people start hearing?
On which, on the new members?
Members as well as reappointments.
So new members should be hearing from our staffers now to do interviews. And I know that's been going on because I've been checking up on that. So that's going on now, doing interviews through March 3rd. If you're accepted, if you're appointed, excuse me, then you hear back. The people who are re-applicants, they do not go through an interview process unless there's a flag on attendance, as is per usual. And then there should just be notice coming in from Carolyn on that, I think after the deadline, for us to submit the names to the board. So I don't know the exact, it's just a case at the moment, the exact timeline on that, but I know we're going to be interviewing through March 3rd.
All righty, thank you. Is there any board member? Sam?
Just briefly, it's regarding the applications. I wanted to ask if this time around, will the more tenured board members receive a notice asking them to reconsider their appointment as we did the last time around? Well, the last time around, I received a notice, and others, we received a notice pretty much stating that, we've been on the board for a minute and that we should consider allowing newer folks on the board. And we all had a concern with that. So I just wanted to ask that today, if we can expect a repeat of that.
Let me know what the concern is.
Third is that one should not be told that they need to get off the board because of their age.
Oh, the interpretation there was that
That you gotta go when you old.
and because of age. Okay.
It wasn't quite spelled out like that, but in between the line, it's what it was.
Yeah, let me follow up on that. That's not
Thank
my
you.
understanding of the letter. We've had that conversation in other boards. The point of that is really to emphasize that term limits are coming up and really asking boards to plan proactively for a transition that's going to happen either way. People are going to get term limited out. So the point of that letter was really to ask people to think proactively and say how they can start working towards a sustainable transition. That's one of the steps possibly, but like also really the big takeaway would be to look within the local community for people to identify. And I hope that message was also communicated also like, through this application window, identifying people that's like, hey, you might really fit in this board, identifying new leadership. We encourage people to take risks, right? Like a leader doesn't need to be fully formed. A leader is like brought up by a community, ourselves included. Also includes people as young as like 16, 17, high school. So that really, to me, is my understanding of the message behind that letter. And this is informed by conversations I've had that I've sat in on other boards. but very cognizant and very receptive of your, receptive of your concern. So I'll definitely take that back. So
If-
all I'm
if you
saying,
would, please.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
All I'm reinforcing is what I know. I may not know the whole story, but let me
Yeah,
check.
because I am pretty sure I was not the only one who interpreted the.
I'm not saying you were,
And
but
thank you
like,
so
let me
much.
take that back though.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And to add to Sam, I'm not going to let you go right now. It's not a question of not wanting younger, enthusiastic board members. It's a question of keeping the knowledge for those new folks, whether they're young or old, that come to this board. Because unfortunately, we have seen that new board members have left us. So that's something that your office may want to look at. Look at the number of new board members that have left and the board members with 20 and 30 years that have been asked not to come back. I happen to be one of those folks that's up for reappointment, and I have been on this board for a very long time, and I hope to continue to be on this board.
No, absolutely. Now, and I'll reinforce, it's not my understanding that it's based on age. So it's new board members, could be across the gamut of age, just someone who is
Absolutely.
on the board now. But I think it really is in keeping with the term limits that are approaching that were
Of
voted in.
course.
I think it's important to mention that those were voted in before our office, before the borough president was in, and they're on the way. And so really, like, those are going to happen. And so we're asking all boards to think forward. That's really
Absolutely.
it. That's really but like 100% hearing what you're saying. And we're taking a look at that. You know, it's transitions are what they are. We're very excited to get this feedback and really happy that people are thinking about it. It's a difficult thing to think about. But the sooner we think about it, the better. So I really appreciate everyone bringing this up.
Thank you. We welcome everyone. Damien is our youngest so far on this board, and we hope to have more young people. He's been here, he's dedicated. We need more like that. But don't remove those of us that have been here for so many years that can provide and educate those who come here that are new, that have no idea the commitment that is needed to be at this board. Because we're not here because, you know, what the hell, there's nothing else to do. We really care about our community. And we have another question or comment from a board member, Jerry?
Yep.
And then we have Diana. Thank you.
I'll add to Sam. Right, I joined the board maybe less than 3 years. Right, this 3 years, right, I actually learned a lot from Joan and everyone else that's been here for a little bit longer than I have. Right, removing them is removing knowledge that I wouldn't learn from them. And the story about certain area they've been fighting for like 30 years and still nothing happened. Right, so you guys need to think about that as someone that is still kind of new. Second, I do like your idea with reaching out to the community and grabbing young people. But here's the problem. You want to hear the problem?
Grabbing new members, not just
New members, right?
across all
So let's talk
demographics,
about
across all
my
identities.
people, right? Yes, we had 1, 2, 3, two left, right? Because they couldn't communicate. They couldn't communicate, right? What the borough president could do, right, is to help fund translators to all the community board in Brooklyn. We're talking about Brooklyn, okay? Second, when you guys doing the interview, if they have problem understanding what you guys are talking, they should not be on the board. Or get translators. So if you want to bring back some problem, right, and come up with solution, bring that back to the borough president.
Applications also only in English, so
Yeah, thank you.
I missed that last bit, sorry.
the application is also not
true.
multilingual. So if in this community where we have a lot of multilingual needs, and Alexa Vilas alluded to that earlier with the new translation bank, that's always been an issue, language access. And certainly for our board getting translation for our meetings, many of our small business owners and our community members, English is not their first language. So it becomes very difficult, and it's a financial burden to us as a community board because we do not have the financial resources to have translation or interpretation in the multiple language that is needed to really have an involved community in community board. That was part of my essay when I reapplied.
Thank you, Cynthia. Diana?
Yeah, I just want to jump in on this issue. So I'm Diana Gonzalez. I was elected, or sorry, I was appointed by the borough president 3 years ago. I'm also the chair of land use. And my experience with the letter that was sent out to many of our longtime members was that the subtext was effectively, you're not wanted anymore. And because of that, I lost my vice chair, who had 15 years of experience chairing land use for this community board and saw us through Industry City and a million other very contentious events. And so when you talk about planning for term limits, that giving away the people who have the most to teach is not how you plan for term limits. It's the opposite. And so I would humbly ask that no more letters like this go out. But if you are going to try to, clean clean out a bunch of longer term people, at least talk to those of us who are on the community board who can tell you that someone like Pat is great and teaches us and helps us, and we need her to stay. If she wants to stay, we want to have her. So that's all I want to add to that.
Yeah, I think my response to that would be, well, first I have a question. When this letter came out, this letter was sent out last year, right?
Yes. This time.
Yeah, right around application time.
Oh, so around March last year. What was the discourse like here? Was this brought forward through
Yes,
the
it was.
liaison?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and it was also discussed, I think, I'm just trying to remember. Was it discussed it was also discussed at Borough Board, right?
This has been discussed, and I'm going to, Julio Peña, who's our chair online, he can respond to that.
Yeah. I just wanna refer back to that because this is a conversation that's been had. So I wanna go based off that guidance, and that's the guidance I'm going off of. But really the intention is to ask people to like think forward, right? Now, again, like the individual actions that people take, like, and I think that's up for, discussion on how we can support and how we can improve that. But yeah, I'll definitely take that back. And then I think a lot of this has been discussed again last year at Borough Board at this level. But let me bring it back and see if anything has changed. What was the communication that you all got following that? Does anyone remember? Nothing? But I do believe it was discussed at Borough Board. Am I incorrect on that? I just want to make sure I have the right timeline. Okay.
Our chairperson does, but he's not in this room.
Okay, so let me follow up on there. I just want to make sure I don't contradict anything.
Not a problem. And you can certainly reach out to Jeremy and give him an update, and Julio on, everything that was discussed this evening. Really would appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not trying to get rushed off. I'm really trying to respond here. I really hear what you're saying. So I'll take all of this back. But again, I do want to reemphasize that the point of the letter, I understand how it came across. You're telling me I can't doubt that. The point of that is that we need to plan for term limits that exist. It's not this office that put them in, they were voted in. So I want to make sure the spirit of that is held on to, and we can think about that together. But definitely hearing everyone about how it was received. This is a conversation we've had at other boards, so I've had this conversation before, so totally 100% here for it.
Thank you so much, Bruno. Thank you. Now, we are good. We're going to move right along.
I started liking
Bruno.
it so much.
Bruno, there was a question in the chat.
Oh, there we go.
No, by a non-board member. So
Oh, actually.
they're out of order. I'd ask you to speak to Natasha, who's standing right there. She could answer their question once you speak to her.
Thank you, Jeremy, for that. Emmett Mendoza, thank you for waiting so patiently. Representing Marcella Matain is our assembly member.
Hopefully you guys will be kinder to me than my colleague. But you should not be. You should always ask questions. My name is Emmett. I am Chief of Staff to State Assembly Member Marcela Martinez. I have a couple of updates for you guys to share where we are in the state process, especially right now. We're in the middle of the budget hearings that takes place after the executive has submitted her state of the state and her executive budget. Our one house proposals, for those of you who don't know, is our version, our response to the governor's state of the state. Those should be published the earliest by March 1st. So you'll see what each house would respond to, what priorities are. In regards to what the member is focusing on, On stuff of immigration, we know it's a really big issue, especially for a vulnerable community. The Assembly member is prioritizing 4 pieces of legislation. We know that in the budget, we don't touch legislation. It's mostly focused on fiscal stuff, but especially given at the times that we're seeing our communities under attack, these 4 bills that we're prioritizing are first is the New York for All Act, which we know that the board and the community here has signed a lot of support for. We're also supporting Access to Representation Act, Dignity Not Detention, and the Clemency Justice Act. For those of you who don't know what those acts do, I could do a quick one-sentence blurb for each one. The New York for All Act will prohibit New York State and local government agencies, including police and sheriffs, from colluding with ICE. Dignity Not Detention will prohibit New York government entities from entering into and continuing immigration detention contracts, requiring government entities to terminate existing contracts for detention of individuals in immigration facilities for profit. Access to representation will basically provide the right to legal counsel in immigration proceedings, and the Justice Clemency Act establishes application processing and review requirements for reprieve, commutations, and pardons. The next big item that we're focusing on is addressing the issue of SNAP skimming and SNAP fraud. We know that a lot of our offices in the state and city council and Congress, we've seen a rise in people losing their benefits. Since the December 20th deadline that passed, constituents can no longer apply for SNAP skimming. Through New York state law, they can still get benefits for cash assistance or public assistance fraud, but no longer for SNAP. So what we're doing is through the state with a joint coalition of other elected officials across the state, Assemblymember Martinez is spearheading the initiative for 2 things. One is to create a SNAP and public assistance compensation fund, so that folks who are not able to make that December 20th deadline, they have the ability to now apply for compensation. So this is for anyone after December 20th, moving forward. And secondly, we're also championing the inclusion of the EVT card in the SNAP in the cards that people use for these benefits. We know that when there's a transition, there's an 83% chance improvement of against fraud, but we know that it doesn't fully address the whole skimming issue. So at least the compensation fund will close that gap that exists. Thirdly, we know that recently Donald Trump, the president, has made an announcement that he intends to end congestion pricing. For those of you who are already fully aware, just an FYI, it was signed into law in 2019 before Assembly member became an Assembly member, but she has this following statement to share that I would like just to quickly read out loud to you guys. We are a country founded on democracy and not monarchy. The move to dismantle congestion pricing by the federal administration is a thinly veiled overreach of power. We will be meeting this overreach in court in full support of the governor and the attorney general. The data and the initial data collected on congestion pricing is clear. Congestion pricing is working. It is reducing travel times by an average of 34% across bridges and tunnels in the central business district, giving all communities valuable time back in their lives, reducing pollution and investing in our public systems. New York will not be coerced into complying with a federal administration who thinks their word is law. And then lastly, I want to share that the Assembly member has been doing bi-weekly fireside chats on social media on both Facebook and Instagram. This is for those of you who are fully familiar with. This is when the Assembly member goes live, and she talks about things that are going on right now with the the state budget, such as talking back and reporting back on what these budget hearings have been like, talking about what's going on with immigration. And this week on Sundays, this is every bi-weekly on Sundays at 6 p.m. We're going to be talking about what's going on with the city, mayoral stuff in regards to Mayor Eric Adams. We try not to, this is not to be political. This is just to talk about how does this all impact state level and policy stuff as well. Any questions or comments?
Any board members online?
One more thing, sorry. Last thing, in regards to SNAP, there was a public hearing on social services. The Assembly member did ask Commissioner of the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance on whether or not the state can step in to close the gap on SNAP skimming, and Commissioner Deborah Gwynn did say that they're fully supportive of any initiative that will both compensate people who've been frauded by skimming, but also in support of implementing the CHIP if there's enough support for it. So that's something that we're pushing hard on. Questions?
Damian, you have a question? Please take the microphone.
Thank you so much. I guess my question is like, given that I don't know if Marcella's working on it or if this is like talks in like Albany, but is there like any, I guess, talks about increasing SNAP in general? Because I know given that since, the pandemic funding went out from the federal government, it like, it gave us a little coin for our SNAP, but like it got taken away. And a lot of families are actually struggling due to the fact that they lost all that extra money. Is there like any talks where the state could improve SNAP by adding more funding or even expanding the income requirements?
Yes, there are conversations about increasing the SNAP benefit to $100. We know that it won't close the gap, but it will increase the amount that families have, especially now when the cost of living continues to increase. It's not just housing, because housing is the number one issue that we're seeing through our office. But the number two issue is the loss of food, cost of living, and just having enough to put food on the table. But yes, there is efforts. I'm more than happy to share to you what those efforts are in regards to the budget as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emmett. Moving right along, online we have Christian Williams from Mayor Eric Adams' office. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Christian Williams.
Nope, not here.
Oh, moving on along.
Maybe there was some news.
I gonna take a step back on the agenda. I did not let someone to speak when they had their hands up, and I want to get back to her and give her her opportunity. Lauren Collins, you have 3 minutes to make your public comment.
Hi, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. My name is Lauren Collins, 18 Reeve Place in Windsor Terrace, a former CB7 board member. I'm proud of everyone who's serving now. The reason I'm on, I just wanted to speak out about the open dining applications. I live about a half block from Le Paddock, which I believe is one of the ones on the agenda. I have no connection with the restaurant. I am absolutely in favor of them. I don't know if which direction the vote was going to go, but it's been so nice to have that. When they did have an open dining during COVID, it brought so much activity to a corner that's a little bit dark, right where the subway is. And it was always has always been very nice. And there hasn't been an issue of noise for me. I live like a 10-second walk from that restaurant. So that was all. I just wanted to do that. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Lauren. Going back to the agenda, we are now going to go to committee reports. And our first report will be Education, Health, and Human Services Committee. Jonathan Martinez, please step up.
So just give me 1 second before I start with my report. So I'm chair of the Health, Education and Social Services, and I'm going to give a report about what we did from the last general meeting to this meeting. Once I get start my computer with information. Just bear with me, please. All right. I will start with the presentation from Grand Street Settlement, the Head Start project, which is a federally funded program that provides early childhood education, health, nutrition, and parent-involved service to low-income children and their families. They present a new site which will be located in 5119 Ford Avenue. This new location will have 8 classrooms and will be serving 100 children age 2 to 5, and they will be offering comprehensive family support, including education, nutrition, workshops for disability services, and mental health consultations. Also, we got a presentation from New York Connects. This is a program that offers free, unbiased aging and disability resources for individuals 60 plus, disabled persons and caregivers and professionals as well. The services include case management, home care, transportation, legal services, and mental health support. No income restrictions, all services are free, and the closest location is the 1655 Flatbush Avenue, located here in Brooklyn. They prefer to have appointments, but they definitely take also walk-ins. Also, we had a presentation again from New York City Smoke Free. Specifically, the program that they presented this time was Reality Check, which is a statewide student-led adult-sponsored program. They have programs in all the 5 boroughs, and their main purpose of this specific program is to expose the deceptive tobacco industry marketing tactics, and they are looking to partner with schools in the district to provide services to students ages 13 to 18. If anyone has any contact with any schools within that range, I would be more than happy to send that information to them. And finally, we had a presentation from Playground New York City. This is a nonprofit organization dedicated to transforming New York City through play. They operate an adventure playground called The Yard on Governor's Island and partner with community organizations across the city to support children's play. They serve approximately 50,000 children annually, and they focus in free play with supervised by trained play workers. And this type of program encourages creativity, collaboration, and physical activity. They were here in our board specifically because they want to open a second location in Sunset Park, and they have in mind either Brooklyn Army Terminal or Pier 6, and they also are seeking feedback from the community. And additionally, they are asking for a letter of support in favor of supporting this specific project. If anyone has any questions about any of these programs or about the specifics on the Playground New York City, I'm here to answer those questions.
What was the school? PS6?
Pier 6. Pier 6.
6.
Or Pier 6, thank you.
Are there any questions for Jonathan? Karen, please grab a mic. There's one right there.
Sam.
Is this the same type of playground where it's like a junkyard? Okay, those are great. Thank you. I just wanted to know.
So they have a flagship playground on Governor's Island right now. If you've ever been, it's called The Yard. And when they came to present to the Parks and Environment Committee, people were so excited. So we don't want to lose this opportunity. The timeline for the project is to open up the second location by 2027. But, you know, things move fast and we want to make sure that we keep on to like this opportunity. So we want to issue this blanket like letter of support. There's no like specific site right now. So we want to like hear from the community, our board members, if they have any like specific location that they think that this would be a good idea to hold in. They have specific requirements for the playground. I think they need a space that's, let me see one second. At least 1,500 square foot. They prefer water and electricity, dirt, grass on the ground, not asphalt, shade, and an indoor space so people can go and, you know. Questions?
I hope one step at a time. First of all, for those of you that don't know, this is Diana Aguilar, so apologies for that. We have now reported on B, and then we went A and C, correct? All right. All right, thank you.
I have a question. Okay.
And Sam, who has the microphone, is going to be nice enough to go to those folks.
The concept for the playground is also maintenance. I was just curious if they talked about like who pays for the playground to be maintained over time. I did just want to mention that the public design, my understanding is the Public Design Commission approved the Pier 6 sign. Pier 6 again is adjacent to and so that is in progress and believe that EDC said that they would come to a waterfront committee meeting to present in March or April. I wanted to ask about that. And then the second question, which is, I don't know that you would know this, but Steiner Studios had promised us a nice playground in Bush Terminal Park. And do we know anything about when that is to happen and be under construction? So.
For Steiner Studios, I'm told that construction is supposed to start in the spring. 1 month.
As for maintenance, I believe that Playground NYC operates and they handle all of like the maintenance since it's a private organization. There's one thing I want. Oh, and I wanted to clarify that they spoke to the EDC, I think about like specifically building A in the Brooklyn Army Terminal. They did their own kind of like research and they found Pier 6 that they thought like this might be a suitable place for the second location, but they haven't like discussed like Pier 6. They did speak to Councilmember Aviles about PS6, since I think it's doing some sort of major redesign and like they're still in the master planning phase, so they want to get a move on if this is going to be the second location. That's what they said. That's what he said.
Oh. So,
Some sort of school. I don't think they said like Pier 6. They didn't, did they?
so,
I heard Pier 6.
Right, there is no PS6 in Community Board 7.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is a PS6 in Brooklyn. It is in Flatbush.
It's
So
on
that's
Latin.
why I'm confused.
Maybe it's Pier 6, but
So it has to be Pier 6,
yeah, 'cause
which
he
is
said
in
he
our,
spoke to
within us.
Councilmember Aviles about it,
Wait,
but
wait.
not.
Can we get that confirmed? Only because I remember asking about, I confused Pier 6 with Pier 4 at 58th Street, and the response that I received was, it's right next to it.
So my question is the same thing. Can we confirm the location? The Pier 6 that I know that my kid played at when they were kid is on Lantern Avenue, right? Right by the terminal where they take to Governor's Island. So there's no Pier 6 in Brooklyn. Sunset Park, sorry.
Oh, so to clarify, this is a blanket letter of support, not for any specific location, because they're still looking for locations and they want like community feedback input on any like location that they think that would be, suitable. Because we want it somewhere that's central that people can easily get to, and like Brooklyn Army Terminal isn't that. So if you have any suggestions, feedback, you can like reach out to us and we'll pass it along.
So next question was, this came out of committee. Was there a quorum on committee and you voted on there? So then somebody would have to introduce a motion for this to actually be voted on, whether we write a letter of support. And then the next thing was, I very much like the idea of the Army Terminal as a location for this. It is the terminus of the B11 bus, and there is New York City Ferry, so it is able to get that. If the IBX ever happens, that's another public transit option going there. But my question was, in their space, since they want this indoor-outdoor space, how are they envisioning getting that? Are they envisioning taking some of the space that's currently parking? Or are they, I hope that they're not trying to get rid of the esplanade and the seating that the EDC has put there, because that has actually made the space really fantastic. And, families go down there and hang out, and it's quite a good space. Did they specify where on that site they have? No.
Yeah, so we didn't have a quorum in either of our meetings. from our committees, I mean, in this joint meeting. He didn't really specify on like construction. I think they're just looking for a space that kind of has dirt, grass, and like is near some indoor space that parents or kids can go and, use the facilities. So, yeah.
Next question is from Damien.
Yeah, I think I've seen this on Governor's Island. I guess my only question, reading over the notes, is saying majority of children attend for free on the weekends. Like, if it was established in Sunset Park, does that mean it would be completely free, or some parents will end up paying for this?
And they've actually, the guy told us that they were looking for sponsors or partners with schools in order to make this happen, to be free for kids in the community. But there's no specific plan on that as of yet.
Damaris?
But they are looking into this.
I'm trying to remember Governor's Island, but if I recall correctly, this is like having children play in a semi junkyard, dirt, getting dirty, and kids love that. I don't want this to sound wrong, but also finding the space in Sunset Park, I'm concerned because if they need dirt, I'm trying to think that there's really no dirt. And we do have a rat problem. Maintenance comes into play. I mean, I'd hate to think of the kids in our community playing just after the rats had ravaged through it when the park is closed. And then they come in the next day and contamination, bacteria. I'm just curious to know more about the actual layout, the dirt. I mean, how are they maintaining it if it's outdoors?
I don't have an answer for that. And I think we didn't talk about that in our meeting, but I feel like everyone has a lot of concerns on this issue. And I strongly agree with those concerns. And I feel like we should definitely send this to them for them to really answer those questions for us.
I'm sorry, one last thing. Like from what I understood, the materials that they use to play, like it gets changed like frequently, like recycled goods. So I don't think like it's gonna create like that much of a, dirtiness problem, but we can definitely reach out and ask them to clarify. Yeah.
Are you looking to withdraw your committee's vote? Was there a vote?
No vote. We didn't have quorum.
We would like to introduce a letter of support. Of course, I feel like there is a lot of questions, and I'll definitely think that we should forward with a letter of support. I totally agree with everyone here, and I think if anyone has any concerns specifically to know either me or Diana, and we will send those concerns to them before we move forward.
I understand that Julio has his hand up.
Hi, good evening. Sorry, I'm not there in person. I'd like to motion that we send a letter of support for Play NYC, but incorporate some of the feedback that we received here tonight in that letter.
A second by Damien. Anyone opposes? All in favor? And abstentions? The motion passes. A unanimous consent, a letter of support with everything discussed at this meeting will be in that letter.
Also, I would like to receive any additional feedback from the community board. Just make sure you send us either to Jeremy, me, or Diana.
ASAP.
And locations, if you have any locations in mind as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Next, we're moving to public safety. Cynthia Jeffers.
Thank you. So I have two reports out today. The first, we had a panel discussion on vendor activity and public safety on the 5th and 8th Avenue corridor on January 28th. We had representation from NYPD, FDNY, DOT, Sunset Park Bid, Council Members Aviles and Council Member Zhang, DSNY. The full minutes are available as well as the YouTube. The biggest takeaways from that is that we need to report any violations using 311. There was a heat map provided. In spite of all the concerns we received at the community board, in total, there was only 361 311 complaints made about businesses on 5th and 8th Avenue for the entire year. So it's very important that 311 is used. It is the tool that is used by New York City agencies to provide funding and support to communities. So if this is a concern, sanitation, cleaning up Fifth Avenue, 8th Avenue, garbage, etc.,
Is
they
Puppy up
do
with you?
go by they do go by the number of 311 complaints. So if there is no 311 complaints, they do not come out and provide additional funding for cleaning up 8th and 5th Avenue. So that was that. Also, there was a need to have 311 training. So a lot of people, when they make the 311 call, sometimes they write it to the wrong agency, to the incorrect agency, and they get closed immediately because it went to the wrong agency. So we are going to be working with Councilmember Viles and Zhang to create a multilingual video, a very short video in different languages, how to use the app, because when you use the app rather than a call, it actually gets quicker action. So that should be forthcoming. We will also have a follow-up meeting in April and May with these agencies to address some of the concerns that came up. So that was that. Right before this meeting, we reviewed an application for a dispensary on 4815 Fifth Avenue. The applicant did not come and did not submit all the required paperwork that is required from OCM to our office to review. We did have a quorum and we voted to hold off on any decision because we did not have all the required documents that OCM requires.
I got you
And
on
the
a 14th too.
applicant did not come so that we could ask questions. So we did vote. It was a unanimous consent. So I'm just moving forward with that. Are there any questions regarding any of the two meetings? So I just move for a unanimous consent to hold off on any decisions on Amsterdam PCC LLC doing business as 49th and Leaf because we did not receive the documents that are needed.
Do we have a motion?
Thank you, Diana. Okay, well, we got it anyway. Thank you, Diana. Appreciate
We're
it.
good.
So we're doubly good. Any abstentions?
Any abstentions?
So you need a yes and a no before abstention.
All right.
So say all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
All right, now we're going to move on to joint committee meeting and with transportation and public safety. So we will have Katie. Are you going to join her? Okay.
So this was a joint committee meeting, and then there was a transportation meeting. So I'll just go through these. So it was first one, transportation and public safety, and with Cynthia and Jerry, who are up here. So then I'll go through this, and if there's anything else that you wanted to add, please do. So we held this meeting, and hopefully this will become something we do at least once a year, where the focus was on critical locations in the district related to public safety and transportation, that intersection. The context for it was a planning meeting, so identifying places of concern. Cynthia had noted in the meeting, we have the 72nd Precinct Commanding Officer Suarez has assigned an officer to focus on traffic, and because they're doing some onboarding, we wanted to use this meeting that we just had as a planning meeting to start to be able to hand them a list of common areas. So this, if you're tuning in, listening virtually, you missed the meeting and you still want to send us critical intersections, please do, and I'll be a little bit more specific in a second on what was covered. But I did just want to note the same point was raised. Please use 311. Yes, there have been investigations into 311 being closed and, questions and concerns about that. still go through the process because there needs to be a log. And then if you do 311, then you can send that issue and that complaint to Community Board 7 so that they can follow up on it. So again, we need to have a log because otherwise there's no record of it. Okay, so I won't go through the locations. Please read the minutes, but I think I just wanted to highlight the types of things we talked about. Illegal vehicle, like derelict vehicles that have been abandoned in different locations in the district. We talked about the trend that has been happening more and more of parking on sidewalks and in turn lanes and medians. We talked about some specific actors that have been habitually doing that, whether that's a business or whether it's an anchor institution kind of that is doing that. Double parking, requesting enforcement related to double parking in specific locations, and speeding issues in common places that keep happening. And then we did bring up design problems, so things that are just not working with the roads as construction is happening, or just the actual design of changes that have been made. So there are very specific locations. You might be interested to read those, and that covered both Sunset Park and Windsor Terrace. Wanted to mention that. Okay, so before I go over to the Transportation Committee meeting, I just wanted to see if Public Safety, Cynthia, wanted to add anything.
Just a correction, Commanding Officer Suarez is now Commanding Officer Captain Yassin. So just a correction to the name.
Excellent. Okay. So there were no votes taken in that joint meeting, so I'll move on from that. So next on the agenda is transportation, right? Our meeting? Okay, great. So then we quickly did a quorum call, we transitioned, and we had our transportation meeting. So there are 3 dining out applications that came forward. There's very robust conversation on these, but I'll just start out. So it's Cafe 58 who presented their application for Roadway Cafe for 42 seats and 21 tables. That address is 169 58th Street. The second application was for Le Paddock. We heard a neighbor who joined tonight. That address is 1235 Prospect Avenue. That cafe will have 12 tables and 24 seats. And then Elora's Restaurant at 272 Prospect Park West, corner of 17th Street, and they want to have 12 tables and seating for 24. So in these, we did ask a bunch of questions, particularly to Cafe 48, to clarify their application and ask some questions about their current setup, and then Le Paddock and Elora's. So those passed, all 3, just to clarify, all passed with unanimous consent. So my understanding is I don't need a second in order to bring that here, but I'm still bringing it to the full board to vote on it.
Do we have any questions, Diana?
For Elora's, does that involve sidewalk seating, street side seating? And if it's street side, did they say which street since they're on the corner?
The application is for Roadway Cafe, and I don't know if I remember, but side street.
On 17th?
John is pulling the paper. Thank you, John.
I believe it was the side street, not on Prospect. Let me see. Yeah, but it's
The Roadway Cafe.
But they sit on the corner, so it's,
Sidewalk only?
yes.
Right. Okay, so not for any street dining? Okay,
No.
great.
Joan?
Joan?
The only one that wanted the street parking was
The cafe,
58.
Cafe 58.
Cafe
correct.
58.
Yeah, everybody else was.
The other 2 are the Prospect Avenue is on the side of the restaurant, and the other one on Prospect Park West is in front of the restaurant, which That was Eleanor, and they have had outdoor seating for quite a number of years.
Yes. Thank you. Anyone else? So we don't need a motion. All those in favor? Do we need to do that? Yes, I'm hearing yes. So on the application, are we going to start with Cafe 58? All right, let's start with Cafe 58. Do we have any objections? No? Abstentions? All those in favor? Aye. Passes. Lepatic. Any? Jesus. Take it away.
You have to say that.
All right, I can say it. Here we go. Julio, come back next month, please. I am asking for a unanimous consent. Are there any objections to unanimous consent?
For the
On-
paddock.
For the paddock.
No objections.
Seeing no objections, we are now at unanimous consent. Thank you. Cafe 58.
Laura's.
Elora's Mexican restaurant. I'm asking for unanimous consent. Are there any objections from the floor? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ay, Dios mío. What was that again? Repeat.
Seeing none.
Seeing none, it passes. And now for the last one.
Yeah.
which-
That's it.
That's it.
Good, look
But
at
there's
that.
a
I thought
resolution,
third
so-
time's the charm.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Passes. Yes, sir. Yes, Kate, go.
Okay, so as you can see, the administrative responsibility for the New York City dining out applications is quite significant. So just as a reminder, this is a new process that has been passed along to community boards, and so what we've been doing is not necessarily what other community boards have been doing. So I'll just say, since the process started last year in 2024, we've been hosting a hearing. We've been hosting these applications at every single transportation committee meeting, having the representative from the applicant from the business come and present. And right, we invite them, they present their application. And then what we've also started to do more recently is start to put the application in the board's email newsletter. And then welcoming comments. So we had a robust discussion about this in the Transportation Committee about whether, does this make the most sense? Because we're also asking people to come when they might need to be serving dinner at 6:30. It's also really challenging, just time-wise, administrative, to be able to get it in time. So what we did was we had a resolution, but I'll just say in a second what that is. What we talked about is if we still feel like the application coming to us, for whatever reason, that business has been flagged for some reason, we still reserve the right to invite them in, to have them come and present and talk about their application. But going forward, what we would do is have the dining out process be more like the liquor license process for CB7. So again, we can choose to have a meeting and invite them in the time frame that's needed. But otherwise, the resolution that we adopted was to recommend that dining out proposals be included in the CB7 bulletin, that the board will be available to receive comments and accept feedback on that application. We'll make it really clear the timeline and timing in which you need to give it to us in the bulletin, and that would be how we go ahead with dining out applications going forward. And this is also in anticipation that as we get closer to the summer months, there's probably just going to be a flood of these that keep coming in. So we're hoping it kind of changes the process both for the Transportation Committee, but then every single time we have to come to the board. So that was passed by unanimous consent. So I don't need it to be seconded here, but I can take time for questions before moving it to a vote in the.
Jeremy has a question.
Oh, Jeremy has a question.
So not a question, I just wanted to add two things to that. When the law was passed, community boards were not given the ability to vote yes or no on these applications. We have taken that upon ourselves. We are allowed to share comments, but yes or no is not something that has been given to us as a power of the board. The other thing was, my mind just went blank. Thank you. I'm sorry, my mind is blank. If it comes back to me, I will ask for a moment again. Oh, yes, finally, I remember. So in reading through the information that DOT gives to applicants, it says you do not have to go to your community board. So DOT does not actually require them to come to us.
Okay, so thank you. Are there any questions before we would move to vote on this? Dana has a question.
So to clarify, the community board isn't required to weigh in on dining out applications?
We are not required to weigh in on applications. We've never been, but we have
Right.
been going through this process since they introduced it.
Right. Does that mean we should be going back in any way to any of the applications that we rejected?
Haven't rejected any application.
That we
We
rejected
took
Seco.
a no vote. Sorry, there was a no
It was
vote.
Seco.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my question.
There was
Just
no
a
action,
You're right. Okay, thank you.
no action,
Yeah.
which is what we are required to do, no action.
All right, seeing no additional comments, questions, I am now going to ask if we want to do unanimous consent. Great, motion passes. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now going to move to the second roll call of the evening. Jeremy?
Again, good evening again. Now I just have to find it. So, is that it? One moment, please. Here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to call the names of the people who didn't respond the first time. If you don't hear your name, you've already been marked present. Jalea Bailey, Beatrice DeSapio, Jamie Freed, Kenny Guan, Moshe Hecht, Angie Lau, Paul Mack, thank you, Antoinette Martinez, Rosie Moda, Joanna Romero. Roll has been called.
Thank you, Jeremy. Moving right along, the chairperson's report will be tabled for next month. Our district manager's report is tabled for next month. Now we're going to move on to old business. Does anyone have any old business they'd like to bring up? In person, online? Katie? Old business. Is there anyone that wants to talk about old business? Anyone online? New business.
No, so this is old business. We saw Shahana Hanif earlier, but I did want to leave it open if anyone had any additional questions about the Arrow Linen project that we could try to answer them now.
This is not the time for that.
Old business? Okay, never mind.
All right, anyone that wants to make old, we're on new business, correct? Katie, and then Cynthia. Katie, please.
Sorry, I realize I'm talking a lot. This is not in our district, but I did just want to raise it as a important thing that is happening in Community Board 6, Brooklyn Marine Terminal, which is the waterfront just adjacent in Red Hook. I might get the facts wrong, but basically it was owned by the city, and then there was a swap, and there was owned by the state. And then now it's being owned by the city, and EDC is proposing to do a lot of development, and housing is one of the ideas that has come up. As you guys know, this is like working waterfront, right? The historic Brooklyn Marine Terminal. This is not set that it's going to be housing, but it's not clear it's like affordable housing or not, and it's tons and thousands of units. There's been a series of public hearings and public meetings that you can go to. The reason I'm bringing it up is it matters what happens in Red Hook. If we lose the working waterfront in Red Hook, we're next. I know that I've been part of a lot of discussions in this community board, and we care about the working waterfront. And so this is something that I just want to kind of get everybody hip to, that yes, it's not in Community Board 7 and it's in Red Hook, but it really matters. And so I just really want to encourage you, look it up, Brooklyn Marine Terminal. There's a lot of news stories, EDC. And again, I don't really fully understand the process. It's like a general master plan. And so the sentiment is it's being rushed really fast, and they're trying to push and take a vote on it in April. And a lot of community members are trying to organize these like pop-up meetings, and Community Board 6 is having, my understanding is like committee, like emergency meetings. So please be vocal and show up, because again, I think if we're concerned about issues of affordability, inclusivity, equity, housing affordability, working waterfront, access to the waterfront, like all of the things that this board talks about every single meeting, we really need to be paying attention to what's happening. Thank you.
Jeremy?
I just want to clarify that since 2009, Community Board 7's policy, since we voted on the 197A project, is to keep our waterfront from 3rd Avenue to the water industrial.
Thank you. Any other new business? Cynthia? And
Yes.
Sam?
Just an announcement, on April 27th, the Brooklyn Sunset Park Lions Club, in collaboration with many community-based organizations in the community, will be hosting a free community and health fair, including free mammogram screenings for women. Everyone's welcome to sign up. At the next meeting, we will have flyers in 4 languages, and we will have multilingual staff on site. They will be doing free screening, blood pressure, diabetes, the mammogram screening, and as well as providing resources to the community. Everyone is welcome.
Thank you. Do we have anyone online for new business? I didn't forget you guys. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Jonathan? Come on up, Jonathan.
I just want to know what is the vacancy rate for our community board, given that we're going to start doing, the board of president will start doing the interviews. I just want to know what is our status.
Any other questions? Diane?
Hello. Oh, it's not so much a question, but a request from everyone in the room, especially our board members. Our Parks and Environment Committee has an ongoing project where we're trying to collect locations that are consistently dirty. And I ask all of you, if like on your way to work or on your way back home from work, if you see a location that's been dirty for days, to snap a picture and like write down the location and send that to us. I'm trying to put together a presentation so we can organize a walkthrough.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. No hands up, and Dan?
Yeah, I'll do a quick one, just a news story that may or may not have blipped some radars. So the non-citizen voting bill, or let me back up. I think 2-3 years ago, New York City Council passed a bill to allow all 880 some odd thousand non-citizen New Yorkers to vote in our local elections. This week, I think, or maybe last week, recently was at the State Court of Appeals. There's nothing we can do about it at this moment, but I think this community board especially should keep track of how that bill is moving through the process, because if it goes the way I think many of us would want, I think we'd be on the hook for some outreach. So letting folks know about that.
Thank you. Anyone else? We're now going to move on to public comment. Anyone want to say something of public comment before you? We have, come on up. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name, the organization you represent, or your address. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Suyapa Blanco, and I'm representing United Senior Citizen Center of Sunset Park. I would like just to inform you that we are still looking for a place to move since we have not reached an agreement with the landlady, and the Department for the Aging is not approving such high increase. The landlady wants to increase by 70%. Yes. Yes, so the center is in jeopardy of closing. So if any of you know a place where we can actually move, please let us know through Community Board 7. In the meantime, we have until June 30th. Our lease expires on June 30th. So it's right around the corner. In the meantime, we continue to conduct activities and events. We celebrated last week Chinese or Lunar New Year and Valentine's Day, and we have other activities coming up as well. You all are invited to come to the center and see how important the center is for the community. We had over 200 people on Friday just for that celebration, and the center is always packed. At the same time, I would like to thank Community Board 7 on behalf of United Senior Center and also the elected officials for your support and assistance during this process. Thank you.
I know I'm not supposed to make a comment, but I just wanted to suggest to you maybe OLPH and the possibility of the empty space in this building, and you can follow up with Julio and/or Jeremy on that information.
We are looking, and this is one.
Yeah,
Thank you.
OLPH, the Catholic Church, the school is closing. The
So that
school is
might be a
scheduled to close
resource.
on June 30th.
I know our executive director, Grisela Amador, is on top of it.
Right, and we did write a letter of support for the senior center as part of the board, as many other organizations. It's privately owned, and the landlord, like was mentioned, wants to increase the rent by 70%. And because it gets city funding, the city agencies are saying they cannot pay a 70% increase in rent.
The city is only approving from 3 to 5%, and this is 70%. Yes.
Wow. Any other,
Thank you for what you guys do with our seniors.
Please come on up, state your name, your address.
No, up there.
Up there, up there.
I think I had more of a question. Pardon me, I'm still new to this.
This
Well,
is
maybe, go ahead.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you. No, that's fine. Anyone else? So before I say that this meeting is over, I want to thank you all for your patience with me. Thank you all for being here. If there's anyone online, raise your hand now. Oh, Damien.
You guys already know me. I guess a quick follow-up from last meeting, if we end up issuing a letter to the building that's getting built in front of Dewey, I know we discussed it last meeting to find out who are the I guess the owners of the building, and if we could still invite them. I don't know if that is still being discussed.
Speak to me after the meeting, but I will just say, invite them to which meeting?
To just invite them to a community,
To a full board meeting.
to a full board
I
meeting.
would ask you to reach out to Julio.
All right. Sam?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Well, guess what? We all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Before you leave, we have an announcement. If I could get that, Damien, please. The March board